back, everyone. My name is Patrick.
My name's Mike.
And this is a special edition of the Oilers Rundown because I have a guest today, so it's not just all me blabbering on. You get some Oilers opinion from Mike as well. So got a few things to talk about with you guys, so might as well get right into it. We have the latest on the injuries for the Edmonton Oilers. Leon Draisaitl and Tyson Barrie are currently out day-to-day. They both missed the skills competition from the other night, so probably for the best. You don't want to be trying to show off your skills when you're injured, and the Oilers don't need to risk having them be injured any further than they already are. Jay Woodcroft said on Draisaitl's status for tomorrow against the Seattle Kraken, we'll see. So,
and in true Woodcroft form, that usually means, because he talks in parables all the time, is that we'll see him on the ice tomorrow night.
Yeah, if I'm a betting man, I think we see Draisaitl back.
It might be a little bit more limited,
Yeah.
but with the way this new line structure is, let's get right into it. I think it's the smartest thing that Woodcroft did, which was to separate the three juggernauts, have them man their own lines, because we're seeing the benefits of that.
Well, yeah, there's a few guys that have needed to bury it, and some of them are stepping up lately. The Oilers have gotten more bottom six scoring this year for sure, and it's really helped them lately. Obviously, it was nice to get that 2-1 win over the Calgary Flames the other night.
God, I hate the Flames. The fact is, though, too, with the Flames, the fact that we only play them, 3 or 4 times this year, and that was the last time we're going to play them until, well, we're not going to play them in the playoffs, because I'm sorry, I don't think Calgary's going to make it. And if they do, I don't think they're going to make it far enough to be able to play us. But, oh, man, it was, what do you say about Stuart Skinner, our number one goaltender? Who would have thought that? We never talked about that in the summer. Oh, we're going to have to ease him in and everything else. But now we just need to get, Jack Campbell back at it.
Stuart Skinner has stepped in and literally saved the Edmonton Oilers season. I don't know where they would be right now if they didn't have Stuart Skinner. I personally love that they got him locked into that 3-year deal, $2.6 million.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Well, it helps kind of yes, you hate having Jack Campbell with the way he's playing at $5 million, but when you have both of your goaltenders locked in for $7.6 million, it's a little bit easier to
when take. A lot of these teams, you look at the Avalanche, you look at all these, Stanley Cup caliber teams, what have they've got put into goaltending? What, 12, 14, $15 million?
Well, you want a bad situation? Look at the Florida Panthers.
Oh.
Sergei Bobrovsky, they're paying their backup $10 million. Oh,
man.
So the Oilers are paying Campbell half of that.
Now, here's a question for you, Pat, right? It's been touched on in oil country for the last little bit here, but the only coach or only person that seems to have been untouchable for the last 15 years is the goaltender coach for the Edmonton Oilers. Do you think that there's at all any chance that they move on from him and move somewhere else, thinking that maybe that's the spark they need? Maybe they need a different voice for those guys between the pipes? Because I think the loudest voice in Skinner's head is Woodcroft, which is exactly what we need it to be, right? Because he seems to be not in that same affliction, but all these quote-unquote veteran or old-school goaltenders seem to regress ridiculously under Schwartz.
I think a lot of people have brought that up and noticed that. I don't think there's going to be any immediate change to Dustin Schwartz's position, but we do know Mike Smith's contract is up at the end of this season, going to be a free agent, and obviously with Smith's situation, I'm sure he's officially retiring from the NHL this summer. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but I can't imagine Smith getting better to the point where he can resume his career. Does Mike Smith possibly take over for Dustin Schwartz next year? I mean, it's a possibility. I think it's going to depend a lot. If the Oilers come out of the season and win the Stanley Cup, no, I don't see them we just won the Stanley Cup, so we should probably fire our goaltending coach. But if there's a goaltending issue to close out the year, possibly that adds more fire to Mike Smith coming in.
I still think, because of all the ups and downs between the pipes for however many years, but especially this year where there should be no reason for what we're going through right now with Jack Campbell, right? I think you have to make some kind of a fundamental change.
With Tyson Barrie possibly out for tomorrow against the Kraken, Philip Broberg was on the ice for the skills competition and for practice this morning, so could possibly see Philip Broberg drawing back in for Tyson Barrie if he's not ready to go. Or we could also see Marcus Niemelainen sent back to Bakersfield and Broberg inserted back into the lineup that way. So something to keep an eye on.
Barry has been our best defenseman this year.
Yeah.
On both sides. He's been our best offensive defenseman, and he's been our best defenseman, right? You look at our defensive core, it's been nothing but disappointment and regression from the whole lot, damn near.
Well, do you know when Tyson Barrie turned it around? Dave Manson. Dave Manson coming in last year. Tyson Barrie has been a new defenseman since Dave Manson came in.
Correct. But the thing is that then how can you explain the regression? I've never liked Nurse. I didn't like the contract. I didn't like his play beforehand. I don't like his play now. But the fact of the matter is that we're stuck with him because nobody's going to take him.
No.
Right? I don't know. I'd almost like to Dustin Byfuglien him and make him a winger and bring in another number one defenseman. Why not? I don't know. But we need some kind of help on the back end. Nurse has regressed. I don't know what the hell happened to CeCe in the summer, but he's a shell of the player that he was. And Bouchard, he was supposed to be the next coming of whatever. I have no confidence in Bouchard. For as little confidence as I have in Nurse in the last 4 minutes of a game, I don't want to see Bouchard out there. And Kulak has also regressed this year. We need people that aren't going to stand in front of our freaking goaltender and block them and let these teams come back and win these games that we should have had in the bag time and time again this year.
There was a hit on Connor McDavid the other night. Mackenzie Weegar, I believe, was a defenseman. Knee on knee. No penalty on the play. Also, speaking to another trouble with the Oilers' current lineup, is a lack of toughness. There was no retaliation for the hit on Connor McDavid. Now, the team and the coaching staff kind of talked it down. They didn't feel like it was a play that they had to do something about. But I think really in the media, it was a really strong talking point. And I mean, when your best player gets kneed, I don't care the severity of it. There should be some kind of a response from the team.
Look at McDavid's eyes on the bench. Look at his demeanor after that happened. The lack of toughness adds to that because people just have their way and there's no repercussions.
Well, here's a clip from the American Hockey League. Noah Philp, player the Oilers signed from the University of Alberta. Currently playing with the Condors, obviously. Philp has 3 goals and 2 assists in 27 games this year and has a +4 on a Condors team that has been struggling. So that's definitely of note.
Yes.
And in this game, the Condors were losing 7-2. Really bad hit along the boards. Philp steps right up, fights, and he did not look out of place in that fight. He took down the guy like big time. He got some great shots in. And if the Oilers are looking for team toughness, they might not have to look too far. You got a guy, he's making around $800,000. You can just call him up. And the Oilers have plenty of guys they can send down to replace him. Making all that work is not an issue. So
there's so many holes in our bottom 6, Pat. Like, why would you not try the guy out for a couple games? Right?
From that fight alone, I mean, he's not going to come up here and score 20 goals, but you don't need him
but
to.
We don't have to. He doesn't have to, right?
He just needs to come up and, like, you throw Noel Philp on the ice after that McDavid hit. I bet you get the exact same result you got with him playing for the Condors. Like, the guy he hit on the Condors isn't a big star on the team. He immediately went to his aid, and that's what should have happened when Connor McDavid was hit that way.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Do you think if Evander Kane was on the team right now and not injured?
It looks like Evander Kane is ahead of schedule. He was initially targeted for sometime in February to return. At this point, he's looked good on the ice in like the limited amount of time we've seen him. Obviously, we're not going to get the best looks at him, but I think an end of January isn't out of the question. I mean, you don't want to rush him back.
I don't want to rush him back. You want to make sure that the player is ready to go.
Let's get into some trade targets, because obviously we're pretty much in agreement here. Everyone's in agreement in Oilers.
Got to do something.
The Oilers got to do something. So my number 1 target, defense. Everyone's talking about him. It appears the Oilers have little interest in him. I hope that changes. I really hope that changes, because Jacob Chychrun, I think, can come in and make a huge difference to this team. Pierre LeBrun tweeted today, Jacob Chychrun, since his return, 16 points, 3 goals, 13 assists in 17 games. He's playing big minutes. He's looking good defensively and offensively. He's not just offensively. He's got good, strong numbers protecting the Arizona Coyotes, who aren't a very good team right now, and Jacob Chychrun is looking good. And if you can look good on a bad team, then you got something to showcase here. Obviously, the big problem with Jacob Chychrun is the acquisition cost. He's got
that doesn't scare me.
It doesn't scare me. He's got an amazing contract this year and 2 more years to go at $4.6 million.
Yeah.
That alone, plus, I mean, obviously he's got to have the strong play, which he's showing right now. We all wondered, like, he came into the season late. How does he look? 16 points in 17 games is how he looks. I know that's just offense-wise, but like I said, the defensive numbers are there as well.
This is the thing that scares me about Chychrun. I'm just terrified that when we really need him, he's going to be on the shelf.
It's a risk you take, but I mean, anyone you acquire, something could happen to him. I mean, it's
for sure. Yeah, I just look at the track record of a guy that hasn't played 82 games.
No, his injury history has to factor into it. Obviously, he's a guy that can step in. He's a top 4 defenseman, and the acquisition costs are saying right now 2 first-round picks and a top prospect, and there could be plus more on top of that.
So, who do you think that prospect would be? Bourgault?
I think you're going to lose Xavier Bourgault, Philip Broberg, Evan Bouchard, possibly Dylan Holloway. One of those guys is going to be going in that deal.
Okay, so you have to make this deal in the next 10 seconds.
I'd say the most likely guy to go would be Philip Broberg, because if you acquire Chychrun, you've got Nurse, Chychrun, and Kulak down the left side. So where's Broberg playing? And you got Chychrun for multiple years. So
I don't know.
I think Broberg would be the most likely guy to go in that deal.
Most likely.
Make a deal.
Most likely.
So the next guy on the list is Joel Edmondson of the Montreal Canadiens. So he signed for this year and next at $3.5 million. So it's another good salary that the Oilers can take in. However, Joel Edmondson is, I'd say, at best right now, a number 4 defenseman. He can play in your top 4, but he's number 4. He's the 4th best guy there. The Montreal Canadiens are looking for Xavier Bourgault, which is a complete non-starter for me, or a first-round draft pick, or something equivalent.
I'm sorry, it's not worth a fourth defenseman. And Edmondson's on the tail end of his career, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. I'm not giving up Bourgault, who is right now the de facto replacement for Jesse Puljujarvi next year. It's what the Oilers are hoping for, that Bourgault can step in on right wing. I think he can also play center, but the Oilers don't need him to play center.
That would be an interesting line with him on Draisaitl's line.
Right now they need a right winger. They need right wingers. And Bourgault, you're hoping, can step in. Obviously, you don't want to rush him, give him like the 9 games or whatever. But Bourgault is complete off limits for me in this kind of deal. So the next guy on my trade target list was Vladislav Gavrikov with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now with Gavrikov, you're getting an Adam Larson type defenseman. He's the defensive defenseman. He's not going to come in and score a bunch of goals, but like we've been saying, we don't really need a defenseman to come in and score a bunch of goals.
No.
We need a defenseman that can come in
and play defense.
And defend. And Gavrikov is a guy that can do that. He's on an expiring deal, so he's a UFA at the end of the year, making $2.8 million. And like Joel Edmondson, I'd say if he's top 4, he's your number 4 guy. He's not any higher than that, I don't think. But like Joel Edmondson, there's a high acquisition cost. They're talking right now that the Blue Jackets are looking for something in the realm of a first-round draft pick for Gavrikov. Now, if you're getting into the nuts and bolts here, the Tampa Bay Lightning gave up first-round picks for guys that you could say, well, they're guys you don't normally give up first-round draft picks for. Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow. But they gave up first-round picks for them, and those guys came in, and they made the difference. They
filled a role that they were missing.
Because those were 2 guys that went in on Tampa Bay's third line, I believe with Yanni Gourde, and gave them 3 lines that could score and were dangerous. So the Oilers are at the point now, obviously the season has not gone as we all want it to go, but the Oilers need to be in their Stanley Cup window now, and this is the time where you pay those kinds of prices. Now, I still, going back to Joel Edmondson, would not give up Xavier Bourgault for Joel Edmondson. I don't think he makes the difference. Gavrikov, he's a guy probably a bit higher on my list.
If Gavrikov's a younger Adam Larson, I don't care what you have to pay for him. Get him. That's what you need. You need to get him, but you need to be smart in getting him, right? You're not going to give a Xavier Bourgault.
That's
right?
my point. If you're paying a first-round pick for Gavrikov, I would pay the first-round draft pick. I wouldn't give him one of our current prospects.
Fair enough.
I'd pay the draft pick.
I agree. I don't know if we've got the right guys in the GM place that are willing to pay that price, right? He's trying to keep it sustained for a long duration. I understand that. And there is time. There's a time and a place like last year where he played
to be patient.
the patient game.
Yeah.
I think you got to kind of eat crow a little bit here, and you need to go out. And it's not even to show the fan base or this. You got to go out and show the team that you're willing to go help them fundamentally find out what the problem is, because the people that they're dressing on the ice so far this year, it's not the roster that they need to go and make it past the Final Four and make it into the Stanley Cup. We all know that.
You bring in Jacob Chychrun, Darnell Nurse is going to be better because you're cutting Darnell Nurse's playing time down. Right now, they're overplaying Darnell Nurse because he's their best defenseman and he's struggling. So if a guy who you consider your best defenseman and is playing the most is struggling, guess what? Your team is going to struggle. You bring in a top four guy like Jacob Chychrun who can cut down Darnell Nurse's minutes. You're going to get more quality minutes from Darnell Nurse. You're going to get quality minutes from Jacob Chychrun. You're going to have a better defense overall. You're going to win more games.
So why do you think Woody isn't cutting Darnell Nurse's point? Like they can't not see what we're seeing.
Well, everyone behind Nurse is struggling too.
I get it.
You're giving more minutes to guys that are just struggling too.
Great, but you're at some point, and we know it's going to burn Nurse out, right? I don't know, man. I think if you're all playing like shit,
with Nurse is that he's burnt out.
Yeah, but if all of a sudden you can cut down Darnell Nurse's playing time by 5 minutes, I think that's huge, right? If he only had to play, but if he was averaging like most of these, what's an average for a number one defenseman? 25 minutes a night?
Yeah, you cut that down to
right?
15 to 20 minutes.
Right? Like if Darnell only had to play, say, 22 minutes a night, that's huge.
And Chychrun is the only guy out there I see that can come in and actually have that kind of impact. Gavrikov would be nice. Edmondson, he would help. I don't want to pay the price for Edmondson.
I think you're right. I think the Edmondson thing, it just doesn't make sense, because what you would have to give up for basically getting not an upgrade isn't worth it. Okay, is he a little bit bigger? Yes. But again, and I've talked to some Montreal Canadiens fans, he's also injury prone.
So to wrap up that kind of defensive area, John Klingberg, another possibility from Anaheim Ducks, but a lot of people are saying, and starting to really agree with him, he's pretty much the same defenseman that Tyson Barrie is, only a more expensive Tyson Barrie. So is John Klingberg really the best route to go down? Probably not, but we know the Oilers have had interest in him, so we'll see what happens there. Erik Karlsson, it'd be such a convoluted trade to try and make happen.
We don't need more of the same.
Yeah,
we need something to push these guys, not more of the same. Guys that come in with big contracts that really that there's so much onus put on them to produce, whether it's defensively or offensively as a defenseman. I just think, and he's old, man.
Yeah.
In comparative speaking,
4 more years still on that contract. Scares the crap out of me.
Yeah. No.
Even if he comes, and he's having an amazing year, I get all that, but there's just too much baggage on the other end for me to even.
Well, he's having an amazing year.
One other guy I was going to mention was Matthias Ekholm with Nashville Predators. He'd be another guy that'd be a top 4 guy, but he's also got I believe 3 or 4 more years left on his deal at 6.25. So it's not as bad, but he's another high acquisition guy, and I don't know if he really fits with the Oilers long term. If he was on an expiring deal, I might be more entertaining that one, but.
So is Nurse's contract no movement clause for the duration of the 9 years or 8 years?
I'm not sure exactly. But you know what his no move clause is $9.25 million a year. He doesn't even need a no move clause.
He doesn't.
If he's not playing well, $9.25 million.
Exactly. 9.25 million reasons why he ain't going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. No one's taking that. So that's kind of the look at the defense. Haven't been hearing many names up front. The one name that Bob Stauffer's brought up on Oilers now is Sam Lafferty with Chicago Blackhawks. 27, 6'1", 195 pounds, $1.15 million for the next 2 years. He'd be that guy that can bring some toughness, brings a bit of skill into the bottom six.
What would it cost you?
I don't think he's maybe a third or a fourth round pick, and then they might send another contract back. But $1.15 million, they could probably move enough things around where they don't have to move a contract out for that one. Max Domi with the Blackhawks. It seems like there's probably going to be a deal between the Oilers and Blackhawks here, if we're thinking at some point.
So, do you think that there's any volition to what was being said kind of a couple months back? Do you think that
Patrick Kane?
Well, I'm just saying, depending on where the Oilers are at playoff-wise, I think they've had their time. You know, we look at it from the team as last year. Like, we were pulling out their hair, and I don't have any hair to pull out last year during December and January. Right? Exactly. December and January, where they were absolute train wrecks, right? We're not at that point this year. They are playing better this year than they did last year up to this point. I keep hearing a lot of different people talking about a lot of different things in regards to Patrick Kane. I don't know if there's any volition to it, but man, oh man, having a guy that can still put the biscuit in, and, you know, he's been around the league, been around a bunch of different championships.
Yeah, I'd say at this point, I don't think Patrick Kane's coming here. I think he's going to be going somewhere in the East. We know his dad likes to go to all of his games.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a Ranger, be honest.
Yeah.
But I just think it's nice to talk about.
I think for the Hawks, Sam Lafferty, I think that name's out there. Not that he's going to be the guy that is a huge difference maker, but I think he helps the bottom six. He's in like another, I don't know if he's like similar to like a Clean Costin, and Costin's come in, been a
What a breath of fresh air he's been.
He's been amazing.
Yeah.
And
a funny guy, just a personal guy. Like I like him a lot.
Yeah. I think Holland will try to add somebody on the right side to the bottom six, to the top six if he can before the deadline. Don't know if it's going to be Patrick Kane. We talked about a lot about that last summer, but like we were just saying, I think Kane goes somewhere in the East ultimately. I think between Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, the Oilers actually probably have a better chance of getting Jonathan Toews and bringing him in as possibly like a third-line center for the team and just giving them like unreal depth. You can move Nuge to the wing and have...
maybe Nuge is that person on the right-hand side if you have Toews.
You can flip him over, but like McDavid, Draisaitl, Toews.
Or even Hyman, because Hyman can play both sides.
Yeah, McDavid, Draisaitl, Toews down the middle. It's pretty damn good.
Right? And if they're all healthy?
Well, that's always the big thing, especially come playoff time, is health. So, yeah, I think let's kind of look at the trade targets right now. Kind of covered what's going on with the Oilers right now. Any other final thoughts here, Mike, before we wrap
I just think, you know what, this year's been a real big up and down roller coaster. I think there's, for as many things that we can get down on our hockey club, you know, there has been things that have been, you know, glimmers of really good things to see. You know, the resurgence of Connor McDavid doing Connor McDavid things. Making Connor McDavid situations always help. Like, I get it. It's a lot of me saying Connor McDavid, but he's just that good, right? And the fact is that, you know, when he puts his mind to something, right? Oh, I'm going to score 50 goals this year. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll see. And, like, he's going to do that. We already know he's going to score. Unless he gets injured, heaven forbid, right? But he's going to score 50 goals, right?
Yeah, he's going to score goals.
And I get that.
I think 60 or 70 is more.
and I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. Yeah. But things happen. I just fundamentally, I hope, you know, Stuart Skinner's been a wow for me, right? The resurgence of Tyson Barrie has been wow, right? The additions of guys like Clem Costin has been fantastic. Dude, Nuge 2.0, right? Every other year, Nuge, right? It seems to be his motto ever since he's been on this hockey club and in the NHL is that he has an off year, then he comes back and has a bad year. He's just looking like he's going to have the best year of his career. But also Hyman. There's no bigger workhorse on this team than Zach Hyman, right? Zach Hyman goes down with a couple bumps and bruises for 2 games, and they lose 2 of the most useless games because they didn't have that drive, right? I'm not saying he's the be-all, end-all, but man, that's the way that this team
Hyman
seems
Nuge
to
are the heart and soul guys, though.
Hey, they are. Well, 100%.
Yeah.
They're like the 2 pillars that hold up this franchise right now is Nugent Hyman. I 100% agree. 2 very humble, but they also stand behind because they play their hearts out every single game. It doesn't matter who the competition is. They're right. You never see a regression in their play.
Well, I think that's all for now, guys. Be back with the Fanatic Rundown after the Oilers and Kraken. If this is your first visit to the channel and you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing for all the latest Oilers content. You've been watching the Oilers Fanatic. Thanks for being a fan. Mike, thanks for joining us today. See you guys soon.